Japan first came to the attention of the Mongols because of Japanese piracy on the coast of Korea, which at that time had already been conquered by the Mongol concubuli. In history, Kublai Khan is known as the founder of the Mongol Yuan state, which included China. About the Mongolian army, the army of the Mongol Empire was a force of steppe archers reformed by Genghis Khan, who adhered to their traditions of nomadic tribes. In different sources, the number of the army of the Mongols strikingly differs. For example, Plano Carpini names the number of 600,000 soldiers, crams in for 100,000 less minus 500,000 soldiers. But it is worth noting that this number crams and takes the invading Mongols in Russia. But later he changed his mind and spoke about 300,000th army. The main weapon of the Mongols was a compound composite bow, which was covered with a special lacquer borrowed from the Chinese. As a last resort, warriors carried several bows and several quivers of arrows. Each quiver contained 30 arrows. They fought on short, stocky horses that were extremely hardy and unpretentious to climatic conditions. About the Japanese army, the backbone of the Japanese army was the samurai. There were not so many of them, according to different sources, from 3 to 8,000. The samurai were excellent warriors, their main weapons being the 2 Japanese swords, the daisyo and the bao. First attack. The first attack of the Mongols on Japan is dated November 1274. The Mongol ships left the ports and moved to the coast of Japan. The number of the fleet, 700 ships and 23,000 soldiers, taking the Japanese army by surprise. The Mongols used whizzing arrows to stun the samurai horses, effectively ending the battle. The samurai were unprepared for such a serious enemy. The result was that the Mongols ravaged the islands of Tsushima and Deki. Next, the invader fleet moved toward Kyushu Island, where the main Japanese forces were located. A violent storm suddenly broke out and sank the Mongol ships, and the remains of the enemy were finished off by the samurai. Second attack. The second attack occurred in 1281. The Japanese had prepared thoroughly. They mobilized, strengthened the Coast Guard, built many fortifications, as they already had an idea of the enemy. Kublai Khan was angered by the defeat of his army in Japan, and this time he sent huge fleets to the Japanese islands. The first had 1,000 ships and 40,000 men on them, and the second had 3,500 ships and 100,000 men. The first of the fleets approached the shores of Tsushima Island. Before the second, there he was defeated. Later, the remnants of the first fleet grouped with the second. But this time the Mongols faced fierce resistance samurai and suffered huge losses. Then the storm began again, which again broke the entire Mongolian fleet. This storm was nicknamed Kamikaze by the people. Bottom line, Japan, which was by order of magnitude weaker than the Mongol Empire, prevailed in 2 invasions of its territory, a huge part of the Mongol losses being taken by 2 storms. That saved the inhabitants of Japan from ruin by the Mongols.